So how was the first day out there on the field?
Good. I think the guys were pretty happy to be back out there. Coaching staff was happy to be out there. Saw Gonzo teaching some of the young academy kids a little lesson in head tennis. So it was a good day.
And what was it like seeing Clint Dempsey back out there again?
Great. Great. Happy to have him.
When you come out for these initial practices, is there anything in particular you pay attention to? Do you look at what your veteran guys are up to, how the young guys are playing?
Both of those things. Probably a little skewed more towards the young guys and the rookies, trying to find individual habits, where they're looking on the field, how clean their first touches are, stuff like that. The veteran guys, I know them pretty well, so I'm not worried about them the first couple of days.
What about adapting to incoming veterans, guys like Harry Shipp and Will Bruin?
Yeah, you see who can, combine, look to combine, and who covers for whom and stuff like that. Subtle things like that. But I think most of that will come together in Tucson when we actually, maybe pare this group down a little bit and really start talking about tactics and, how we play.
Clint's obviously been around. He's with you guys even in Toronto doing some drills up there. How have you seen him progress from the end of 2016 versus where he's at right now?
Well, it was only one day, Matt, and he looked pretty good. But, he's on a timeline. He's on his, on his program, and I just, as a coach, happy to have him out here and hope that it continues to progress.
What can you share about that timeline?
Nothing. It's not up to me. It's not up to me. It's Clint and the doctors. That's their business. I would say to you that I think everybody here would hope that that timeline continues in a positive direction. I would like to say that, but you never know. We don't want to set any unrealistic expectations. We're just happy to have them every day.
Sure. If the season started today, are you happy with the roster you have?
Good question. Well, the roster, yes. In practice today, we're missing obviously Brad, Chad, and Steph, and some of the guys. Nico's, doing his thing. So, yes. The answer to the roster question, yes. But we're missing a few guys today, and that probably would have, raised the level a little bit. But it's first day.
Going back to Harry and Will for a second, what do you just think of their skill sets, what they bring to the table as players, and potential roles they could play for you guys in the season?
Well, I think you guys have seen the narrative on both of those players. Harry's a good, clever midfielder. Probably does some of the stuff that Andreas did for us last year. And then, Will Bruin's a good player. He's a good forward, good young player, and 10 to 12 goal scorer throughout his MLS career. So he'll help us in that category.
Will was saying that you guys have already had some locker room banter going on a little bit. What do you think his personality will be like in the locker room with the guys?
Well, he and Ozzy are okay. I want to clear that up right away, and that was a big joke amongst the coaching staff, and they're all good kids. Harry's a good kid, Will's a good kid. They'll fit in.
With just one session under your belt, are there any of the new guys that made a particularly good first impression?
Well, I'll say this: I was impressed with some of the academy kids that we had. The whole group was okay for the first day, but I was impressed with some of the academy kids. We want to kind of integrate, make sure that the academy and S2 are integrated a little bit better with the first team. So that was something that stood out. And then, the energy and enthusiasm of all the guys that are trying to make the team, that's always there. And it was good.
Steph being down a while, obviously opens up some opportunities, some reps for some of your younger goalkeepers. How do you plan on kind of splitting that early on?
Tommy's very good at his job. I leave all that to him. Tyler's a good goalkeeper. We're happy to have Brian back, and the other guys, there's academy kids and stuff like that joining us in Houston as well. So we're just assessing. Steph will be fine. We're not worried. So good opportunity for some of the young kids to get more minutes, maybe in Tucson.
With the addition of Gonzalo Pineda to the coaching staff, how do you kind of change the structure? You lost Anton, you're the coach now. Who's responsible for what duties now?
Well, we did it last year where Ante took the attacking group, Jimmy stayed with the defending group, and I just filled in. We'll keep that same type of deal. Gonzo will work with the midfielders and the attackers. Jimmy will work with the holding midfielders and defenders, and all kind of fill in.
Brian, this is day one of your first full year in charge. Does it feel any different than it did when you took over last year?
Yeah. I mean, I was really proud of what happened last year. So I come into this season, trying to improve on that, which is difficult. So when I first got the job halfway through last year, I didn't have any really time to think. So now it's thinking, how do we get the team back into MLS Cup and give us a chance to win a second year in a row? We all know that MLS is extremely brutal. The last two guys before us didn't even make the playoffs. So that is our challenge for this year. So in that way, I'm thinking about things a little differently.
Speaking of first day, there are obviously players that are here today that maybe might just be considered. Ervin Parra is a player that seems to look very well. What are your thoughts on him and his performance today, day one?
Good. Very good. I mean, he's been an important member for S2 last year, and Ezra thinks highly of him. So when Ezra tells me about a player, we like to make sure that we give him a good, honest look. So I can say that, he'll be going with us down to Tucson, and we'll see what happens.
In regards to the younger players, Tyron Mears obviously goes. There's a spot. Is ONeill one of those guys that might be spotted there? Or?
ONeill's certainly in the mix. We love ONeill. He's got a lot of good qualities. That's an open position.
Thanks.
During last year's big moments, you always said you wanted to enjoy the moment, then move on, and you had another big moment or a big match the next week. Winning the cup, turning around in such a short time, did you get to enjoy this moment, the magnitude of winning the cup, the historic run, before coming back here?
It's probably still sinking in a little bit. I think maybe for all of us, because it was, pretty good. But yeah, I mean, there was a couple of days where I could just sit back and relax and think about, again, how proud I was of the team, how they reacted under, really a difficult situation that they found themselves in. And they were able to turn around and really, really believe that they could win. Little side note here, to start things off, I put a little PowerPoint presentation together for the guys to introduce Gonzo and some of the coaching staff and the people they need to deal with every day. And as a surprise guest, the last clip was highlights of Zach Scott. And then Zach came from behind everybody. Nobody knew he was coming. And so that was pretty cool. And so Zach came and told them, hey, look, you guys got to, really grab onto this. Your career's short. Real jobs aren't that fun. Make sure you appreciate what you're doing here. So that was a good way to kick things off. And some of his reflection on his career and what he accomplished in his career, I think was important for the team to hear.
To Nico's question, the difference between coming in mid-season to starting a preseason, and this is your club preseason, is there an adjustment for you, or just?
It's a lot more work. It's a lot more work. There's a lot of details to go through. Grant is bugging me every day for stuff. I mean, it's just the layers of detail that go into it. You have to think about everything, from meals to travel to planning training, incorporating all the responsibilities. So it's a lot more work.
When was the power presentation? Was it today?
That was this morning,
Oh,
before
this
we walked out on
morning.
the field.
Gotcha.
It was just a fun way to introduce people, because they get tired of me just standing up here talking.
Right.
It's better when they see something.
You look good in black. Where's the blue parka? Is that retired for good?
Makes me look slim.